Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of my show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. There are many ways to support the show. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and some other items there with designs made by friends of the show. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. And please follow friends of the show. That would be of course, Jen, the Arcane Observer, who is the co-host of this show on Saturdays whenever she's able to make it, and Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, as he's been doing shows on Sundays about all things paranormal, and I've been joining him for that. So you can find a link to his link tree, all that he does, in the episode description as well. And Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, online 24/7 for free. So I think that takes care of everything. Thank you all for listening into these shows. And let me get back to this document here and we'll get going again. It's kind of weird. Sometimes when I do these shows, I feel like I remember the last one I did of this any kind of show, and it's like I'm coming back to something I just left and stopped doing a minute ago, but it's been days usually, or at least a day. So um, I always end up thinking or saying, "Let's get back to this," and it's been that long. So anyway, let's get back to this document here, and this one says, "I was playing a card game earlier with a group of friends, and afterwards we split off in the house and did our own thing. I should probably note that ever since I was young, I've had paranormal experiences, but they never seemed tied to a place, kind of tied to me. They don't bother me all that much. Anyway, while my friends played video games on the TV, I felt compelled to uh, to reach out via playing cards. I don't know why, but it felt right. I started by spreading the deck across the table, and whichever card was separate from the others, I'd flip. I noticed right off the bat I kept flipping fives and eights over and over again while still shuffling. It felt like a fun game. I then just shuffled after I felt like it didn't want to play anymore and asked if it was done. And I guess I mean consciousness, spirit, that kind of thing. I just shuffled until something fell out. I had asked it to throw sevens if it was done. After a few shuffles, and after a few shuffles, a card flew out, a seven. To confirm, I asked again, and yet again, a seven flew out. As I was putting my cards in the table, I mean on the table, I flipped the deck, and all four of my jacks, that I call jokers for some reason, sometimes, were all next to each other. It's going to it's going to sound weird, but there's this one entity I call the jokester. It just likes to hide things, and open doors, and such. Just silly things. It has always been around. I immediately felt like this was him, so I asked, "Is this the jokester? If so, throw out a jack again." Lo and behold, a jack flew out. I said my hello or of sorts and asked to end the game, and shuffled, and a 7 flew out, and that's the sign I needed. I then pulled all my cards over after shuffling, and felt a need to flip the deck face side up. A 7 laid at the top. Felt like a nice goodbye. Is this legit, or am I just reaching? And that's where that one ends. That is fascinating. I know I've heard that people use playing cards for divination purposes. Uh, so it doesn't surprise me in a way that this happened in and it was, I guess, useful, or it ended up happening where it was a way to communicate with possibly a soul or spirit or consciousness, and that's really fascinating. And I wonder about that too. They bring up a good point. Are they? But I feel like that's a lot of responses for it to be their imagination. Uh, so many sevens, eights and fives first of all, then sevens, and then jacks, and then sevens again. So many responses. What seem to be responses that I do wonder. Uh, it does feel like there was something going on there. Now, how that works? Was there some kind of energy flowing through the person that made them shuffle things just the right way without them realizing it to get the message across? Um, did cards get, I don't know, moved while they were being shuffled by some kind of invisible force? I don't know. I think you have to sort of probably mark a card to really know that somehow. Uh, so, but yeah, I thought that was a fascinating little account there of an experience, and I do think maybe I would recommend if anyone ever does any kind of thing like that or similar, I would just to be safe, I would when you ask for a sign that it's that whoever you're communicating with wants it to be over. Once they give that sign, uh, I mean, I'd recommend starting to close the whole thing down and say goodbye and not stretch it out too far. It seems like the whoever was manipulating the cards in this account was good natured and didn't mind doing these things over and over again, but you never know if everyone is going to feel that way. Some people may give that one sign and then get angry or upset that they were ignored, or that uh, that they're asked for more and more signs. So just a sort of a cautionary note there from me. And I don't know anything for sure, but yeah, I was just thinking about that the whole time because, and I mean, I don't blame the person. I mean, if they felt like it was positive, then that's good. But just for any kind of reference to anyone else who ever uh, does anything similar for whatever reason, just be careful as always. So moving on to the next one here. This one says, this story happened a few years ago. I was very close to my grandfather. I appreciated his particularly bad, uh, cheeky humor, probably because I was the only boy out of 10 girl cousins. On the night of his death, I was up late with my wife in my room, waiting for news on how he was going. Or it's doing, I'm not sure. I immediately had this a sensation that something was wrong. My phone flashed, and a part of me knew what the message was, but I subconsciously refused to look. At that very moment, my glass candle, which was lit by my bed, blew up, shattering everywhere. It felt powerful, loving, and cheeky. I really do think it was him giving one last visit. And that's where that one ends. I know that hearing about something breaking may make it seem like a negative experience, but if no one got hurt, then it might not have been. Also, if the connection was strong enough, if that grandfather was sort of trying really hard to get the writer's attention there, it could be that they didn't mean to shatter the candle. It's hard to tell with all these kinds of experiences what's going on. Um, and I always like to trust the um, the witness based on the feelings that they get. So I don't know what they experienced, but it seems like it could have been the grandfather. And yeah, so it's I'm glad that they got a sign and everything, and it was. I mean, I'm sure it was startling, but overall, it wasn't a negative experience. So let's get to the next true story here. And thank you all again, as I always say, for listening in. This one says, I never really believed in ghosts, but when I was 18, I lived and worked on a ski hill in staff accommodations. It was an older townhouse. Let's see here, lost my spot. It was an older townhouse built in the 70s. This is not super relevant, other than to mention that everyone I lived with uh, was a random assortment of people who had grown up all over the world, so very different beliefs and upbringings. We all used to joke there was a ghost at the bottom of the stairs that went to the second floor, right in this little entryway. We all, at some point, experienced weird movements and shadows there. One night, I had the weirdest dream. I've never had an experience like this before or after. I dreamt I was in a man's body. I'm a woman, so definitely not my own body. Seeing from his perspective, and I was holding my chest and falling down the stairs from the second floor. Then, right after I hit that entryway at the bottom, I woke up, but it was like something super heavy was sitting on my chest, and I could not move, like some kind of weird sleep paralysis. I couldn't move at all, and my chest felt so heavy. It was weird, and I eventually fell back asleep. I passed it off as a weird dream and went to work the next day. When I got home, one of my roommates casually said, I saw a man in your room yesterday. I thought, excuse me, and said, what do you mean you saw a man? She said, like a ghost. I fully saw a ghost of a man in your room yesterday. I had not mentioned the dream to anyone yet. I've never experienced anything like that in the 20 years since. The fact that it was a different yet related shared experience between two separate roommates at two times on the same day is just so inexplicable. And that's where that one ends. That one is fascinating. I do wonder if the dream was a message showing how um, the the man or the figure that was seen at the bottom of the stairs, showing how he passed, and um, and then of course having that sighting by a roommate in around that same time frame is fascinating, and the fact that it was a man. Of course, I mean you never know; it could be unrelated events, but it also could be related. It could have been this presence showing the person how they passed. Um, I I had a weird experience, uh, series of experiences that I've talked about in the show many times, where I was given these dreams of this early teenage girl, and eventually they sort of made a story, and from that sort of all these different dreams, like three or four different dreams, I was able to piece together what she was trying to tell me, and it was about how she had passed. And so I do. It doesn't surprise me that could happen. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm curious about the history of that that ski, those accommodations on that ski hill, all of that. But yeah, so not sure. I guess I could tell that story. 'Cause you never know when there's going to be new listeners. So we might end with my own experiences in this show. And to those that listen to these shows on a regular basis, thank you for putting up with me sort of repeating my stories over and over again over time. But I do like to share them when they seem relevant, and this one does. Uh, Here you had someone who was working in a place and staying there, and they had a dream of what seemed to be the way that the apparition that was seen passed away. So when I first moved into my apartment here, um, I had a dream one night, and at the time I was sleeping. I was still using my bedroom for a bedroom. Now I use it just for storage. But I had a dream one night where I was still in bed, but I could hear someone moving around in my living room and moving furniture around. And I heard a man's voice say, "Where are you? I can't find you. I can't find you. Where did you go?" And at first I was freaked out because I knew I had all turned all the lights off, and there was a light on I could see coming from the living room, and there was apparently a man there. But I noticed that I couldn't really move much, and I started getting tired and falling asleep, and I realized that that was a dream. So, um, not long after that, maybe before that, I'm terrible at remembering things now as far as order and times and all that. I had one day, I think it was before. I had one day. No, actually, I think it was after. Yeah, it was after. I I came back home from doing errands, and at the time I had a love seat couch bed type kind of thing, and I would use it sometimes during the day, and I'd put on a DVD or something to listen to and kind of watch and maybe just relax and or fall asleep, and I did fall asleep. And at some point, as I was laying there, I felt the bed shift, and this is before I had Logan, my cat. And even then, if I had had her, it wouldn't have been her because I felt someone, a person, lean against the side of my leg, and that started waking me up. And I woke up enough to say, "Who's there?" And I heard this, like I said, early teens, like 13 or 14 at the oldest, year old girl, laugh, and a very kind, very friendly laugh. And she said, "How can there be anyone here when you've double locked the door?" Which I had done before I laid down. And so that got my attention. I woke up and I started to sit up and I started to open my eyes as I sat up. And by the time I was up, the pressure on the bed and on the side of my leg lifted and was gone. And I did not hear or see anyone running away from me. Um, this is not a very big apartment, so if someone was running to get out of sight or hearing range, um, they wouldn't have been able to do it very easily if I was awake. So yeah, and I had a couple other times where I'd get home from doing things and I'd hear that same girl's voice, just talking or laughing. Never could make out words, and then it would just fade away as soon as I opened the door. But one day I had another dream, where I was sitting in my bedroom closet, the larger closet there, and I was sitting on the floor, even though in real life the closet is full of stuff, but in the dream it was empty, and I was sitting on the floor, and there was this girl sitting on the floor next to me in a like a old fashioned white nightgown, and she um she turned to look at me as I turned to look at her, and uh, I was startled because it looked like she was starting to decay. And so I got startled out of that dream and didn't know what to make of any of this. So I have to wind this up past here. I had a dream another point one day when my younger sister came over. She would come over in the summertime when she was on break from school, when she was about like 10 or 11, something like that. Her dad would drop her off early in the morning, so a lot of times we would both go back to sleep for a couple hours after she got here. I would let her use my bed in my bedroom, and I'd use the couch bed. I had this dream about being in my living room and everything was on fire, and I was saying, "Where are you? I can't find you. Where did you go?" And I never looked in the bedroom. I even went outside to look around. And of course, I felt like it was me, but it wasn't me. And I was looking for my sister, but it wasn't my sister. And that's when I figured out that whatever happened, wherever it happened at, there was this fire. And this young girl either got trapped or was hiding from, got trapped in a small space or was hiding from the fire or people, I don't know, in a small space. And this was a story she was trying to convey to me through all these dreams. So, um, anyway, I do believe messages can be passed along in dreams. And that's why I wanted to share all that because, and it doesn't always have to be about how someone passed away, but that can be one reason for that, I think, at times too. But anyway, thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.